Hear me, the missing sheep, and here we.
Good evening. Let's pray. Father God, I pray your blessing on everyone here this evening, and thank you for the gifts, skills, knowledge, and experience that each person brings. We welcome your presence, ask for your wisdom, and invite your grace. May decisions that are taken be just and fair. May words that are spoken be respectful and kind. May legitimate concerns be listened to and taken into account. And may your will be done on earth, in this room, as it is in heaven. In the name of Jesus, I pray this. Amen.
So you could do
Apologies first then. Anybody else can be late, but I can't, but that's not this evening. Good evening and welcome to the meeting of Melton Borough Council. Evacuation procedure. In the event of having to evacuate the council chamber, please leave by one of the 6 emergency exits around the sides of the chamber. Please assemble at the far side of the front car park nearest to the park entrance. Officers will be on hand to assist persons who require any assistance. Public recording of the meeting. There is legislation that allows the public to film, record, or use social media at a council meeting. This must not be disruptive to the good order of the meeting, nor include any filming or recording of the public seating area. Please switch mobile phones to silent. Microphones. Councillors and officers are reminded to use their microphones when speaking for the benefit of all present. Apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have been received by councillors Joe Orson, Peter Faulkner, Pam Posnett, Don Pritchett and Phil Wood. Are there any other members wishing to give apologies to another member? Please indicate if they wish to do so by raising their hand. No. I can therefore confirm that we have 22 members present.
23.
22, is it?
No, 23. I did write 23 at the side.
It is 22. Okay.
Yeah, there must be more because
Okay. Members present at the meeting, 5 apologies as noted. Number 2, minutes. To confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 28th of July 22 and the extraordinary council meeting held on 14th of September 22. I propose the minutes for both dates are moved at the same time. Do I have a proposer, please? Thank you. Do I have a seconder, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to second that. Thank you.
Thank you. Do any members wish to speak? No, thank you. I can confirm that no other members or officers indicated to speak, and so proceed with the vote. Mayor, can we have the vote, please, for the minutes? That's carried, thank you. So confirm that the minutes have been approved. Declarations of interest. If any members would like to indicate that they have an interest to declare, could they please do so by raising their hand? No. Mayor's announcements. Right. Yeah, I've got, yeah. Right, I'll start by the things I've been up to then since you last saw me. I have to say that the mayoral year so far has been really interesting. You meet so many people who do a great deal of work around the borough and the town, that they are the unsung heroes really that you don't normally get to meet. So the latter part of this year then to date is beginning with unveiling of the gold bench plaque for Iman Barlow in the marketplace with Rob Binloss and Iman to unveil it. She's made a wonderful achievement and it's been a good success for the town. We then went to Tilton Brownies at the Tilton Brownie camp and met with Sam Harold and Bridget Towney. Leicestershire camp, it's full of activities and it's a fantastic site that's really well used by lots of people throughout the whole of Leicestershire. Once again, we take part in the Melton in Bloom presentation. This time there was a hidden gems competition, which was for all the cafes around the town that have got outdoor seating areas and that are behind the cafes, not in front of the cafes. I know I'm not a Melton person, but there was lots more cafes with lots more seating areas at the back that I'd ever imagined there was. And so that was really interesting for me to go around and see all that. We then had the Let's Get Moving Melton Day in the Play Close. Lots of different activities, some more embarrassing for the mayor to take part in than others. But yes, I took part in some of them at any rate. And it was nice to see a nice spread of people and public there. I do know that my niece's children, they went round most things on the day and took part. And so hopefully other people did the same. Then there was the Ukrainian Independence Day at St. Mary's Church. This was really interesting. It was a live stream from Ukraine. And regardless of whether anybody was speaking Ukraine from Ukraine or the English from this side, there was always subtitles from both sides. So everybody could understand what everybody was saying. And it was a really, really interesting meeting to get to know these Ukraine families, especially the ones that have been displaced to the Melton area. And afterwards, there was like a slight tea party in the church for the families that are in the Melton area. We then went up to Dartford, the vet camp, to unveil a green plaque, one of the Leicestershire green plaques. This was awarded because it's been there since before the First War. It was set up to house the Army Cavalry. And people went there to train there to go even to out into the First War in the cavalry. And I think one of my granddads might have been one of those people that was there. The training centre is still used tremendously for training all the army horses and the riders to go along with them. So it was a big facility for dog training centre. The dogs there are trained for lots of different things, from guns to drugs to 101 different items. And they say actually it's quite easy to train the dogs, possibly easier to train the dogs than the handlers. This also houses the national veterinary students for the farriers as well in Melton. It is a big facility that we don't perhaps understand. I think there's nearly 800 acres to it altogether, and they can have up to 170 horses there at any one time. I then met up with Melise in the council offices here with a group of young people to hear their views about MBC and where they think they'd like to go. It was nice to meet one young lady who was very keen to be a member here. And I actually said to her, well, do you want to try this chain on? And she said she would, because that's where she'd like to get to one day. So that was, so we have got some up and coming youth in Melton, so they are there. On the 8th, obviously, it was the Queen Elizabeth II death, and we had the laying of the wreath at MBC. We also went round several different homes and different places to see them with people who wanted to write in the book of condolence, as well as the one at the council. Then it was the King Charles III proclamation here at council. All the how do we say it then? All the protocol for the Queen's death finished for that one day, and then you don't dress in black, and it was a celebration for that day, and then you go back into mourning again after then. This was quite a thing that we had to make sure we got everything right with the flags and everything else. Another quite amusing one, I was at the National Sheep Association ram sale. That was quite interesting because I'd either got farmers that were walking straight past me that didn't realise it was me because I was in a suit, or there was the other farmers that were really giving me a lot of stick because I was in a suit. I didn't end up buying one at 10 or 8. The Battle of Bitton parade, that was really well attended in the church. And later we went to the official civic service to the Queen at Leicester. Later in the month of September, we met up with Mark Frisbee at Phoenix House. That was a really interesting update for me. Also met Councillor Freer there as well. And it was nice to see all the different things that they're doing for youth in Melton. And we actually had a tour around different other places in Melton where things are happening. And that was a really eye-opening day for people like me. There was then a presentation down in Langer Airfield. Although we are Leicestershire, they're Nottinghamshire. A third of Langer Airfield is in Leicestershire. And so we've got quite close links still there. And that was to unveil a plaque because there was a loss of in one plane of 16 US pilots. And it was quite, normally when you see where people die in these flights, you'll have one pilot and a major or somebody else, but all these people were quite high ranking people in this plane, and it must have been quite a loss to the US team. We then went to Longfield School with Melton in Bloom. Melton in Bloom only came with the silver this time, but the school got some gold awards. And in particular, one student who got a trophy for his portfolio for all the work that he did with this Melton in Bloom. And that was quite pleasing because the headmaster was saying that this student a year ago was nearly being ready for expelled from the school because he was so disruptive, but they'd actually found something that he was really interested in and keen in, and he'd really made a fantastic job of it. So that's a really success story for a lad who was ending up possibly going the wrong way. Then there was the 156 Parachute Battalion 80-year remembrance, and that was with the flight of the men that went out to Arnhem. We then went to the Melton Furniture Project, and they had a sale and open day, which was, they said, was really successful and boosted up their sales for the day. And it was really interesting to me that they said for people who really are struggling, they can furnish a house for somebody for just £200, a complete house for them. And I think this is an amazing help for those sort of people in the town. We then went to the 1279 Air Cadet Squadron annual dinner night. That was a really amusing night, and it was a good opportunity to meet with the cadets as well. I perhaps won't mention quite what Dan was wearing on the evening. This was followed up by a nice meeting at the RAF down Asselby Road, where I could have a good talk and a meet with the new cadet. We then, the other day, met with Paul Saxby from Rotary and the other helpers, planting more crocuses out on the bank near Parkside. This is to raise awareness for polio with End Polio Now slogan. And this is like a worldwide campaign that they're working with. We've been to several bits of civic services. This is not always perhaps what everybody says we should do to go out of area, but every time we go somewhere out of area, there's always people there that have a connection to Melton or are looking for connections with Melton and want to know more about Melton. And there's a lot more to it than just going, sitting at a service and having something to eat. There's actually, if you engage with lots of people, it's surprising how many people are really interested in this area. And then finally, we finished off, then went to George Cole, who is the new Lord Mayor for Leicester, who was the first African mayor ever to be in Leicester. And he went to his civic service, and that was another really interesting service and meeting different people. Oh, right. And then the Melton Young Farmers in the tug of war games, the girls came 6th in the world, and the juniors also came 6th in the world. And I think that's a really good, yeah, being an ex-tug of war person. Can
I say something about what I did?
Yes, yeah. Do you want to do that now, Elaine, please, then?
I stood in for the mayor, who I do think you all realise is doing an excellent job, because I think it's not easy when you've got a farm to run as well and sheep that don't do the right things. But anyway, I did, with my friend, did the civic service at Harborough in the afternoon. That was most interesting, because nobody that I spoke to, apart from the leader of Harborough, wanted to join Melton. And they were quite adamant about that. Then Councillor Illingworth and I went to Hinckley and Bosworth. Well, it was called a ball, but it was a bit strange because it was lounge shoots for the men and long dresses for the women. So, but anyway, it didn't matter. It was a very nice evening, And the mayor of Hinckley and Bosworth, with her husband, who actually are a singing act, entertained us for quite a long time, and they were very, very good. And also, I think we had a really nice evening, and met, as you always do, met a lot of different people. But of course, there are Mr. and Mrs. Hewson, who are not the same Mr. and Mrs. Hewson, but he is the mayor. Is it of Blaby?
Yes.
Yeah, he's the mayor of Blaby, and he'd never ever heard of anybody else being Hewson. And I know that Councillor Illingworth enjoyed it, and I know that the mayor of Charnwood really enjoyed his company. And we'll say no more about that. Me finished.
Thank you. Right, we'll now move on to the Mayor's Cadet. And I'll give the reading about that first. It's my pleasure to make the formal appointment of the Mayor's Cadet for 22-23. The role of the Mayor's Cadet is to accompany the Mayor to several appropriate public civic events, which includes the Remembrance Day and the service, fly the flag for the Armed Forces Day, and the Battle of Britain commemorative parade and service. Also, I'm going to give the cadet another job this year at the carol concert. The Mayor's Cadet has brought a closer visible association with the local cadets of the armed forces, showing positive public perception, and is a role which is considered to be an honour and a reward for those cadets selected. Mayor's Cadets have been introduced by various councils across the country. The Mayor's Cadet will be given a brassard to be worn on their uniform during their year of office. The Mayor's Cadet takes an active role in supporting the borough and presenting to the Borough Council about their time as Mayor's Cadet at the end of their term of office. I would now like to invite the outgoing cadet, Cadet Corporal Daniel Bartram, to come forward, please. Corporal Bartram was assigned to the role in September 21 and attended the Remembrance Day parade in November and carried the Mayor's Wreath, Christmas Carol concert in December and read a passage, the Mayor's concert in the park in June 22 and assisted with the collection of donations to the Mayor's chosen charities, and attended the Armed Forces Fly the Flag event also in June 22. I believe Corporal Bartram has a short presentation. Corporal Bartram can now present his presentation, please. Thank you.
So as said, I'm Corporal Dan Bartram. I've been with 1279 Squadron for the past 6 years, and I was promoted to Corporal 2 years ago. Just a general overview of the past year. It's been a good year for us as we start to come back out of the lockdown with a lot more events as we had previously. Get to the next slide, please. So as a Mayor's Cadet, we started with the Remembrance Day parade, where I had the opportunity to carry the wreath for the council and assist in laying. The next event was the carol service for Christmas, where I was asked to read a passage. It was a good opportunity to meet as well some VIPs, including the Lord Lieutenant. Next was the Platinum Jubilee concert, was an opportunity to meet some more VIPs that were invited, and also to watch what had been prepared by local schools and organisations. Then it was the National Armed Forces Day, Fly the Flag, chance to meet some people from the DATR and again the Lord Lieutenant. And then most recently was the Battle of Britain service. While we didn't have a parade, it was nice that we were still able to do something given the time. Got to enjoy that. Slide, please. So as a cadet generally, as I said, it's been a good year. We've got to come back and start doing a bit more. Started off, I completed my method of instruction, which is a course that teaches cadets to teach other cadets. And it allows me to provide help with the classifications syllabus. As we came back, we started to do more camps, which mentioned Swinnerton, as it is my personal favourites of the camps. But this was a camp as well, one of my first camps as a staff cadet. And as over 18s, you do a bit more on these camps with helping the other cadets to enjoy. One of the big ones, Wing Field Day. It's an annual day for cadets or squadrons across South and East Midlands Wing to take part in competitions that are usually our activities. So we do a drill competition, first aid and leadership. We also had our annual dining in night recently, which is a great opportunity for the cadets to sort of come together to more enjoy the evening and a chance for them to meet some VIPs. Also did the flag bearing at the Leicester Tigers game recently as an opportunity just to do something a bit more community, and we got to enjoy the game. Recently also I have completed all for my Silver DV and also our BTEC that we do for personal development in the community. Also completed my activity first aid, which allows me to teach youth first aid to our cadets. And recently we started opening our rifle range more. So we completed a lot of qualifications with our air rifles. And more recently, we have started using our live rifles as well. But most recently, I think last Friday, did a visit to the Houses of Parliament in London. It's nice to actually see what's inside and how it works. Next slide, please. Just a bit other personal achievements as well. This July, I completed my A-levels at MV and I passed my driving test, which has helped a lot, being able to go to things myself. Next slide. So I'd like to thank both Councillor Faulkner for originally giving me this opportunity as Mayor's Cadet and Councillor Hewson for adding a lot into the calendar for us to do, which has really helped. Thank you.
Now, I'd just like to take this opportunity to present the cadet with his certificate. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On behalf of myself and all the members of the council, just thank you for your service and your role that you've played throughout this year. Thank you, Dan. I would now like to invite the incoming Mayor's Cadet, Corporal Wilf Burrows, to come forward, please. Corporal Burrows, I'm pleased to present you with this brassard to look forward to working with you throughout the coming months.
Thank you, sir.
And also the certificate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whilst I recognise we held an extraordinary meeting in honour of Her Majesty the Queen in September, given this is the first leader's notification since her passing, I wanted to once again acknowledge her incredible contribution to our country and Commonwealth and place on record our allegiance and best wishes to King Charles III. For the same reason, I also want to again formally acknowledge the tragic and untimely passing of our dear friend and colleague, Mel Steadman, and also place on record my sincere appreciation for her passion, contribution and commitment to our community and this council, as well as for her humour and bravery she continued to show at all times. We continue to offer our thoughts and prayers to our friends and family. Over recent years, you will have heard us talk a lot about the pace of our housing improvements, and following the commitment and investment we made in 2019 and a lot of hard work since, we have seen the benefit of those decisions and that determination come to fruition in recent months. I must continue to pay tribute to our committed staff team and portfolio holder, and wanted to share a few notable highlights in the last month. I know that a number of you were able to attend a demonstration of our new housing management IT system, which you may recall was something the council invested in through the Housing Improvement Plan. A number of housing management policies have been approved by the Cabinet, with more to follow, and our housing asset management plan has been considered by the Scrutiny Committee ahead of consideration by full council later this year. We continue to build a clear, robust and evidence-based approach to managing and investing our homes. One of our proudest moments, though, and perhaps the greatest signal of transformation over the last 3 years, has been the conclusion of a most recent landlord health and safety audit, which is due to be considered in more detail at the next Audit and Standards Committee. The original audit in 2019, which offered limited assurance, was a key trigger for the changes that brought forward in the Housing Improvement Plan. The recent audit provides substantial assurance for the controls we now have and demonstrates the complete transformation of the service and the grip the team now have on this most important issue. There is no room for complacency, of course, but we should all be proud of what we have achieved and be confident in the measures we have both taken and will continue to take in our housing services. Our community safety. I would like to thank our Scrutiny Committee members who arranged for Police and Crime Commissioner Rupert Matthews to come to Melton to discuss crime and disorder issues within our borough. The session was both positive and productive and followed the PCC's visit to a number of key locations within the area, alongside discussions with myself on our Safer Communities work. I was pleased to hear that the PCC has expressed an interest in following up on the work of our teams we'll be doing in priority neighbourhoods over the next few weeks. Over the summer, in partnership with Rutland, we submitted our ambitious Levelling Up Fund bid for a total of £23 million. If successful, it would enable significant investment at the cattle market and improvements to the theatre, which would create jobs and improve the local offer in Melton. We had expected a decision on the outcome of our bid in October, but have since been advised that decisions on funding will now not be made until the new year. As you know, we also submitted our £1.2 million UK Shared Prosperity Investment Plan, which we now know as UK SPF. And similarly understood we will receive an update on this in the early autumn. We again await update on revised timescales and will keep members updated as we learn more. Pleasingly, though, the recently announced Rural England Prosperity Fund, Melton has been awarded a further £400,000 of capital funding. This welcome funding needs to be incorporated into our 3-year UK SPF plan and provides additional resources to respond to challenges felt particularly by rural communities. We are working hard to meet the submission deadline in November. A cornerstone of our UK SPF plan and a key focus for us over the last year is how we can better support and create opportunities for young people. As a council, we have actively supported the development of the AMY project, Action for Melton Youth, led by Mark Frisby, and the Access All Areas team. We recently hosted an interactive session for young people at the council, and I'm pleased to say there is an AMI meeting of young people happening right now. This evening, they will be considering how they can more effectively link in with some of our existing groups and structures to enable their voice to be heard more clearly as we make decisions. This might include, for example, our Safer Melton partnership or tenant engagement, and we wish them every success and look forward to working with them in the future. In a less positive news, barely a day goes by where we don't hear about the terrible impacts that the cost of living crisis is having on our communities right now. We have taken positive action to do all we can to help, and our teams are supporting residents across the borough with a clear action plan in place which focuses very much on communication and support. Our discretionary energy rebate scheme has been implemented, and eligible residents will have started to receive payments. In addition, we have launched an energy rebate hardship scheme and are currently accepting applications with a deadline of the 4th of November. I'm grateful to those members who were able to attend the recent cost of living briefing, and I understand a further briefing session will be added to members' calendar shortly to update on our work in more detail. One of the things we know is that the support we give to people can only be effective if people know it is there and how to access it. We have available this evening in front of you a number of leaflets and posters for you to take away should you wish to do so. I would be grateful if you could take them into your communities, and if you come across anybody who is struggling, please ask them to contact us so that we can do whatever we can to help. Inflationary pressures are also having an impact on public finances. As we heard at the recent State of Melton debate, inflation is putting significant pressure on our own finances. And we'll see in the recent announcement by the leader of the County Council about their own the recent principal commitment made by our health partners to develop proposals for a second GP surgery with us. We must remember that the funding package for this and any new leisure provision is not yet in place, and raising the required capital will inevitably now be harder due to current economic climate. We will continue to explore every possible option for this over the coming months as we work to develop our leisure procurement strategy for provision post-April 2024. Increasing our resilience and our financial stability is one of the reasons we have agreed to explore the establishment of a strategic partnership with Harborough District Council. Following the briefings provided a few weeks ago, you will have seen that in early October, the cabinets both here and Harborough gave the green light to develop a business case for consideration at our council meeting in December. The business case will set out the rationale, potential benefits, and risks of any partnership, alongside, crucially, how any strategic partnership would work, and the framework for establishing and operating any shared roles or services. This work will ensure we have done sufficient due diligence, but also will ensure that we have a solid basis upon which to build our partnership and a shared understanding across both councils of what could be achieved. The work is moving at considerable pace, and members will have received an invite to an all-member briefing next Wednesday, where a more detailed update on progress will be provided. Before our Cabinet consider the proposals in early December, our Scrutiny Committee will consider the draft business case, and our Audit Committee will consider the draft Memorandum of Agreement. And we continue to welcome wide input and engagement as this work progresses. I want to finish by acknowledging a few recent achievements from our teams. Firstly, for their great work during COVID, our regeneration team was recently shortlisted for the Programme of Business Support category in the Regional Federation of Small Businesses Local Government Awards. We know how hard our team worked to provide support to businesses during that very challenging time, so many congratulations to them. Secondly, I wanted to pay tribute to our environmental health and legal team for their recent successful prosecution in relation to a food safety offence. After pleading guilty to a number of offences, Krispy Kreme were fined over £200,000, which attracted praise from the chief executive of the Food Standards Agency and received international media coverage. Councils are guardians of public safety, and whilst we focused on encouraging positive behaviours, when breaches occur, it is important we take action to safeguard our residents. Again, well done to those involved. Thirdly, as you know, as a council, we are committed to supporting our armed forces. And I'm proud that for the first time, the council recently achieved a gold award for the Ministry of Defence Employer Recognition Scheme. This is the highest badge of honour for employers who support those who serve in the armed forces, veterans and their families. We are only one of only 3 employers in Leicestershire to receive this award this year, and it did not happen by accident. To bring this to life, we have updated our policies and practices to support veterans in our workforce, provided guarantee interview where they meet the criteria, prioritised housing allocations, and strengthened our ties with the armed forces community. I am extremely proud to be joining a team of officers who worked so hard to achieve this, to collect our gold award on behalf of Melton Borough Council at the National Memorial Arboretum next week. Finally, I want to draw your attention to the latest update from the Boundary Commission on revised proposals for parliamentary constituencies. We understand these are due to be published on the 8th of November, when a third and final consultation will commence lasting 4 weeks. We will promote the consultation widely, and I encourage any member who wishes to do so to feed into the process. In addition, with the upcoming borough parish elections in May 2023, officers are preparing to host 2 prospective councillor events on the 15th of November. And we also have posters for these events available this evening for you to pass on to your communities. I know that there is a lot to take in this report, and I can tell you that many things that we are doing have been left out, as it would not be possible to cover everything in the time available. If you would like a copy of what I have said, please do contact Democratic Services, because I think there is a lot of positive things. And for those who will wait for the second 10 minutes, they may have missed something. But if you do want to know what we said, what was in the report, and I would like to thank the officers very much for instructing it for me, do by all means ask Democratic Services and they will give you a copy. Many thanks.
Thank you. Public question time. There have been no questions received. Questions from members. 2 questions were received, but 1 was withdrawn earlier today. I can confirm that we have 1 question from Councillor Lumley. I therefore invite Councillor Lumley to ask his question, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just like to echo your comments and the deputy leader just now. Just like to pay tribute to Councillor Mel Stedman that passed away in August. I did obviously was in touch with her a lot, and just had to pay tribute to her. That she was very hard-working councillor, really. I mean, she had a lot there. That ward with Councillor Evans had a lot of complex planning applications, and she was very hard working, because I know in the countryside they're a lot more contentious than they are in the town area. And I think she did try her best to try to resolve them, and just as well to pay big thing that she did as well, that in autumn of 2019 we had that really heavy period of heavy rain. It didn't seem to stop raining for a few months, and I think she was constantly on at the offices here at the council just to try and get some help there, which she got. She pushed and pushed, and she got a lot of equipment for a ward to try and help with the flooding, which was really good. She was a very hard working councillor, and you know, we will rest in peace. Yeah, question I've got tonight is, can the
Cabinet members strongly consider free or reduced council operated car parking charges in the town area after 3 o'clock between Monday and Saturday to help town centre businesses, assuming existing very low revenue at this time is confirmed. And this would greatly help due to the current inefficiency of the car parking payment machines. Obviously, as I've mentioned before in the earlier question in a full council meeting, there is complementary individual central government grant money for this for councils to spend on just parking machines. Just obviously the feedback is obviously continuing. Obviously the issue is that people often don't have the right money for machines, and they actually won't give any change. So it's just to, in the current economic times that we're in, just to generally uplift a quieter time of day throughout the town centre, and with a key time of day where parents and guardians pick up their children from nursery and or school, which could then entice them into the town centre. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now invite the portfolio holder for Growth and Prosperity, Councillor Binlos, to provide a response, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I welcome and thank Councillor Lumley for his question, and I agree, as I'm sure we all do. Supporting town centre businesses, particularly at this difficult time, is vitally important, both for the vitality and the prosperity of our town. We are indeed listening to the businesses, not just in the town, but across the borough, and we welcome everyone's feedback on issues faced by those attempting to utilise car parks to visit and shop in the town area. As we all know, we have gone from one national crisis to another, with people now feeling a financial squeeze and indeed a genuine hardship through the cost of living crisis, and with so many now identifying this, it is now also becoming a cost of business crisis. We are keen to support town centre businesses where possible, and to that end, we have allocated significant funding to support the wider town centre and ultimately attract more people into it through the recently submitted UK SPF fund. And I can say that we are always keen to do more and look at more options. The question, however, of car parking is rightly something that should be considered as part of the budgeting process for the authority. And to this end, I have requested that officers look into this further so as to advise members on the financial impact of this and to consider other scenarios to try and balance our commitment to the town centre alongside our need to remain fiscally responsible and to maintain the financial sustainability of the council. With regards to car parking machines themselves, we plan to undertake, and are indeed doing so, a thorough car parking needs assessment to ensure we future-proof accessibility to the town and provide enough space for future users and visitors, taking into consideration particularly the expected growth within the area over the next 10 to 15 years. As part of this, we are looking at not only the costs and the viability, but also the wide-ranging methods for alternatively parking and ticketing measures, which make it easier as possible for people to use those car parks. Whilst this is ongoing, we acknowledge the concerns of those who currently use our parking machines and have installed a cashless option within all of our car parks in 2020. Now, this is increasingly being used and on a yearly basis, and it's now around 20% of the total ticket sales. Naturally, the findings of this report will be sent to the appropriate committees for evaluation and consideration. And I would add also that this has already started. In fact, I was appraised of this about 3 weeks ago now. So this is something that is actually being dealt with now. It's very topical, obviously. It is, however, a very broad subject. There's a lot of possibilities for us within this. There's a lot of variables and imponderables, a lot of things that can make it go one way or another. We need to make sure that we maximize the benefits to the town and its businesses, decisions that we make towards this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lumley, if you wish to you can also add a supplementary question if you want. In accordance with the procedure rules, though, may I remind you that the supplementary question must arise directly out of the original question or the reply. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for your response, Councillor Binlos. Very, very grateful of that. If you could also take into account payment on exit, which is a really key thing we should be considering to help people stay more in the town centre when they're parking, so they don't have to rush back and put more money in the machine. Just on a supplementary question, which is actually is trying to assist with our local businesses. The chief executive of National Grid said last week that in very cold days in January and February of next year, there could be a shortfall in energy, which could result between 4 p.m. and 7 p.m. in possible blackouts. Are we actually planning for this? Thank you.
Is that really relevant to the original question, please, Councillor Lumley?
I believe so, Mr. Mayor, because it's trying to help the local businesses and trying to assist them in possible issues coming up.
But the original question was about the car parking.
Absolutely, I think it's all enticed in one big sort of lump sum of trying to assist with local business. But if that's the case, Mr. Mayor, I respect your decision.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I think the original question was about car parking and not about the businesses.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Motions on notice. There are no motions on notice to hear this evening. Item 9, review of the political balance and allocation of seats to political groups. I will now invite the monitoring officer to present the review of the political balance and allocation of seats to political groups. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members, this report seeks Council's approval of the political balance calculations and to note the allocation of seats on committees. Members will be aware that changes in group or committee memberships require the political balance calculation to be revisited to ensure that we comply with our statutory obligations. The changes in this report result from a vacancy in the Long Clawson and Stathern ward, and also upon being notified that Councillor Higgins is no longer to be treated as a member of the Conservative group. Legislation states that only those members who form a properly constituted group shall be included within the political balance calculations, and therefore any non-aligned members have not been included in those calculations. Members will note from paragraph 5.3 of the report that the political balance has changed, resulting in 31 seats for the Conservative group and 7 seats for the opposition. Group leaders prior to this meeting have provided notification of allocation of seats to members as detailed in your reports at Appendix A. However, prior to the meeting tonight, I was also notified of some additions to scrutiny committee from the leader of the opposition. So that vacancy will be filled by Councillor Carter, and the licensing vacancy will be filled by Councillor Pam Posnett from the Conservative group. And I'll ask the members that are moving and seconding the recommendations to ensure that they confirm that that is the case. Members will be asked to vote en bloc the recommendation at 2.1 and 2.2, noting that there is an error in the recommendation as per my draft. Members are actually being asked to approve the allocation of committee seats as set out in paragraph 5.3, not 5.2. So I would advise at this stage that the recommendation, when proposed, is proposed with that minor amendment. Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to take any questions on the report if there are any. Thank you.
Do you have any question, please? Councillor Higgins.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I'm allowed to speak, first of all, just a quick question. Where in the legislation it says authority or committee, could you confirm what that actually means? Authority or committee? Is the committee the full council or is the authority the full council? Thank you.
What part of the report are you referring to, Councillor Higgins? And
Yeah,
what,
it's the
which legislation are you
It's the
referring to?
legislation of the Local Government and Housing Act 1989 and then the regulations of 1990. Thank you. Section 1516.
And which part of section 15 are you referring to?
Just bear with me. So it's contained substantially in the Act, but for example, I'm just trying to pick one very quickly. So in section in section 15, it says authority or committee on, I think it's section 2. Unfortunately, I don't have the internet. It's not going very quickly here. Section 16, subsection 1 is authority or committee. And in section 15, I believe it is, yeah, there's plenty of sections where it mentions authority or committee. It's the duties of the authority or committee.
So the council is the authority, who
Mhm.
are placed under a duty, and the committee is council.
So just to confirm, it's full council, it's not ratified in an individual member though, it's full council.
Correct.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Do I have a proposer, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I understand it correctly, I move 2.1 with the addition of Councillor Carter on scrutiny and Councillor Pamela Posnett as chairman of licensing, and 2.2 with the amendment, it's 5.3 rather than 5.2. That cover everything?
That is correct,
Good.
Councillor Graham. It's just, I can just make a clarification that Councillor Posnett was not recommended as chairman of licensing, just to fill the vacancy.
Just, I'm sorry, just for fill the position. Sorry, I was promoted. I am sorry. Okay.
Can I have a seconder, please?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'm happy to second the motion.
Thank you. I will now open this to debate and invite members to raise their hand to indicate if they wish to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just ever so quickly, and just to note the extreme disappointment that Councillor Glancy has been removed from committees. I think that's been said before to the leader's face, but Councillor Glancy, you are being bullied and you are being targeted. And I'm going to be abstaining from this vote because that is not what due diligence is all about. I do apologise, Councillor Glancy, that you're being taken off those committees. I wonder why.
Councillor Glansley, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, it's quite interesting really, but yes, I have been taken off committees, goodness knows why, and only the person has done it would know, and his partner, well, is sitting opposite me. but I will be abstaining on the vote. I cannot support something which disadvantages the Newport Ward residents who voted Conservative in 2019 and voted me in again as a councillor, as a Conservative councillor. So for some reason, I've not been included. Be very interesting to find out the truth behind the whole matter, but I do feel sorry for residents who are going to be let down by this decision.
Thank you. Councillor Cumber.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm really unhappy about this and about lots of ways of things that are happening with the council. I shall be opposing this motion, just on principle, because it's not been done properly.
Point of clarification, Mr. Mayor, if I may. If I may, with your permission.
Yeah, I'll invite you to speak. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I did say I would abstain, but I think due to the reasons Councillor Glance has given, I'm going to oppose. Thank you.
Oh, Councillor Evans.
Just obviously, we've had some speeches about allocation of seats. I've been in the opposition when this has happened. The leader of the council is perfectly entitled to choose who he wants, where he wants, same as in Her Majesty's government. That's the way it goes. One thing that worried me is the word bullying was used, and also that this has done, Councillor Cumber's implied it had been improperly done. I wish to know how she says that, and the allocation of bullying needs to be substantiated, because we have, as the chief exec knows, very strong rules about bullying.
As long as this is just not about, this is not a meeting, motion is not about bullying or anything else. This is just about the political balance.
Quite. And yeah, is very happy to substantiate that, but at a different time. I don't think that's at this moment. But it's quite clear that Councillor Glancy is being targeted, and bearing in mind, an individual said something that was very demeaning to Councillor Glancy, and well,
I'm sorry, but this is not about the political balance. Thank you. Do any other members wish to say anything? No. Thank you very much. I can confirm then now that there's no other members or officers wish to speak. And I will now proceed to a vote. And the recommendation is, yeah. Can I ask all members to raise their hand who are all in favour, please?
Are you voting? 16 in favour.
Any against, please? Any abstentions, please? So I can now confirm that the outcome is 16 in favour, 4 against and 1 abstention. No. 2, yeah. That's it.
So the motion is carried.
The motion has been carried then for the political balance. Just one last thing before we end the meeting. I'd just like to note, members to all note, that in consultation with the Chief Executive, I've agreed to move the council meeting from the 15th of December to the 20th of December to enable sufficient time for the publication of the final papers in relation to the strategic partnership. So I can now say end the meeting at 20:35. No, 19:35.
Members, ladies and gentlemen, could I please ask you to be upstanding for the Mayor of the Borough of Melton, Councillor Alan Hewson. Thank you.